Zero Carbon Precinct is concerned with the reforming and reorganization of the architecture of cities in response to shifting energy paradigms, from fossil fuels to renewable energy, focusing on the intersection with the automobile and its imminent electrification as an alibi to interrogate the states of entanglement of the car, urban design, architecture, and a staged liberation from carbon. Metropolitan culture, from dense urban aggregates to suburban sprawl, is saturated by collective imagery and pervasiveness of the motor car. No single entity, arguably, and certainly no form of mobility has shaped the way we organize cities, infrastructure, economies, labor pools, or even carve up a housing block more voraciously than the car. The transition to renewable energy and the electrification of the car is a critical juncture that transforms its agency within the city. The paper will describe and reflect on a design research project that intervenes within an urban city block. The project explores the capacity of new energy paradigms to destabilize the matrix of rules and relationships that underpin the contemporary city, as well as the potential of new economies of localized energy production, energy distribution, living, working, etc., with a focus on sites of scalable potential that become an immediate and perhaps exaggerated register for change. How do we embrace the latent potentials of the new energy architecture and its material realities? How do we organize or reorganize the relationships within the built environment around an ecosystem of renewables? How does architecture escape the technology of its extraction? The transition from non-renewable to renewable energy sources necessitates a more profound contemplation of the conceptual and spatial landscape within the realm of architecture and urbanism in cities. Employing projective and operative prospecting methodologies, this research paper and proposal delve into a wide range of emergent opportunities, adaptations, and latent potentials associated with the development of the new energy architecture and its material implications. By harnessing the built environment within a novel paradigm of temporal and responsive architecture and urbanism, the Spatial Manifesto puts forth an argument for a comprehensive reorganization of interrelationships within the built environment, centered around an ecosystem that supports localized renewable energy generation and production. This research discusses an industry-partnered research project and a sequence of speculative urban and architectural projects titled Zero Carbon Precinct, and also navigates through a range of thematic agendas. Approximately 40% of the world's yearly CO2 emissions are generated by the built environment. It is projected that by 2040, around two-thirds of the global building stock will consist of existing buildings. Unlike operational carbon emissions, which can be addressed by systems upgrades, embodied carbon emissions are secured once a building is erected. This increases the urgency to take precise action now. Projectively, the global building floor area is anticipated to double by 2060. Three materials, concrete, steel, and aluminum, contribute to 23% of the world's total emissions. The prime recipient of these materials is the construction industry. The disassociation between architecture and energy has been accelerated by the forces of modernity and globalization. Within this context, architecture has become introspective, narrowly focused on the act of building, and detached from the broader systems that influence our world. This detachment has engendered a mystical relationship between architecture as a practice and the act of construction, thereby obscuring the complicity of architecture within the intricate, interconnected, and seemingly infinite multiform systems that govern our existence. The societal clustering around energy ecosystems extends beyond physical forces alone. Energy dependence manifests as an intricate web of covert connections, a labyrinthine system that permeates every facet of our daily lives. While power lines, data cables, and oil pipelines serve as a visible manifestation of this ethereal interweaving of disparate threads within our global civilization, they are merely the tangible representation of a larger hidden network. The relationship between architecture and energy is complex and often overlooked. Architecture is frequently prescribed as a solitary a pursuit solely concerned with the design and construction of buildings within the confines of project parameters. However, architecture is profoundly entangled with the flows of material and energy, rendering it complicit in the extraction, distribution, and utilization of energy within society. The act of building is not merely a technical exercise, it serves as a vehicle for expressing and articulating energy paradigms. As Brian Cody suggests, form follows energy, and architecture is energy. This encapsulates the extensive discourse surrounding the deep and enduring association between architecture and the flows of energy and materials. Architecture and cities can be seen as attempts to optimize and manifest the movement of energy. The projects described in this paper were undertaken under the aegis of Mini Invert 4.0. This was the fourth iteration of an industry-partnered design research project with Mini, Green Magazine, RMIT University School of Architecture and Urban Design, and the City of Melbourne. Mini is a brand pillar and subsidiary of the BMW Group, and continues a legacy of design innovation and future-focused thinking. Invert 4.0 challenges us to consider how our cities will adapt to renewable energy sources and electric vehicles. It addresses the growing concerns about how cities will accommodate the transition towards electric vehicles. Electric cars are likely to become the primary source of transport in the coming years, but without appropriate access to charging stations, infrastructure, and integration within the architecture and the city, widespread uptake will stall, and the move away from fossil fuels will inevitably be impeded. Lithium, that was once presented as a treatment for the fatigue that the capitalist economy exerted on the human body, is now the linchpin, encompassing economic, environmental, and social aspects in the transition to renewable energy. As some extractive industries slow down, others quickly take their place. Lithium is considered as one of the most powerful resources we have in the fight against climate change. However, it is found in high concentration only in a few places on Earth, such as Western Australia and the Atacama Desert in Chile. While it provides material for cheap and necessary batteries, we also need to reckon with its extractive processes that involve evaporating millions of liters of water every day in the world's driest desert. These maps trace the route of the mineral to the battery or power source, while engaging with the environmental, economic, and social discourses that occur through the process of extraction, refining, processing, and manufacturing. The project attempts to capture the global environmental, economic, and social impacts of lithium. The map is flipped to represent the shakedown that is occurring. A majority of the world's lithium reserves are located in the southern hemisphere. Yet, by exporting lithium and importing finished technologies at a significantly higher price, Australia and Latin American economies are trapped in a cycle of declining terms of trade, while also facing the social and environmental consequences occurring at the sites of extraction.
The shift to renewable energy in the pollution of cars has the potential to transform the way we engage with urban spaces and the built environment. In this context, the use of lithium is particularly important as it encompasses economic, environmental, and social aspects in the transition to renewable energy. As such, exploring the potential of lithium in this context of urban design can lead to innovative and scalable solutions for the challenges of the transition to renewable energy. Australians' low adoption rate of electric vehicles can be attributed to various factors, including limited access due to high prices compared to mainstream cars and the lack of infrastructure to support the widespread EV usage. Insufficient charging stations and a gap in charging networks across the country, combined with longer charging times compared to refueling petrol, have discouraged so many people from making the switch. This issue is particularly challenging in urban centres, where space for setting up charging facilities is becoming increasingly scarce as population density rises. The model precinct includes a petrol station, multi-residential buildings, and commercial businesses and organisations, which reimagines how to accommodate electric cars while creating a community hub that encourages local involvement in the initiative and fosters a greener environment. The aim is to integrate EV charging infrastructure seamlessly into the urban fabric while creating spaces that attract and engage the community. The Invert 4.0 initiative gave the opportunity for practicing architects, RMIT architecture students, and the wider community to participate in creating a sustainable future and facilitating the adoption of EVs in Australian cities. Overall, the projects in this area seek to present immediate and exaggerated registers of change, exploring the potential of new field urbanism in the liminal overrun between the car, charging stations, communal spaces, distributed platform technologies, and peer-to-peer economies. By doing so, they offer a glimpse into the future where the car and the built environment are reorganized around the ecosystem of renewable energy, transforming the way we interact with the city and the culture of consumption. This first project is broken down into 3 approaches that looks at achieving zero carbon building, urban farming for carbon positivity, and reverse engineering for local material production. The Achieving Zero Carbon Buildings approach uses existing urban infrastructure and the De Grave Street recycling facility as a precedent. It addresses the difficulties in sourcing sustainable materials and emphasizes the importance of avoiding demolition to minimize environmental impact. The approach explores strategies to reduce embodied carbon, such as on-site processing of recycled glass aggregates. It raises the question around the current state of the built environment and the need for innovative approaches to achieve zero carbon buildings in urban contexts. Urban farming for carbon positivity purposes urban farming in an apartment complex using recycled plastic to create organic scaffold for vegetation. The material reflects red and blue light to aid plant growth, reducing the need for driving to supermarkets for groceries. The approach emphasizes the potential for urban farming to create self-sufficient and healthy living standards by integrating nature into the architectural design, contributing to carbon positivity by absorbing CO2 through plant respiration. The reverse engineering for local material productions purposes uses urban mines and material fabrication shops within construction sites to reduce the environmental impact of material extraction and transportation. The technique suggests using reverse engineering to produce materials that can be used locally as additions to existing buildings, promoting circular economy principles. This approach is presented as one of the options for achieving zero emissions precincts and raises the questions around the role of local material productions in creating sustainable and regenerative architectural practices. The Self-Sufficiency Project proposes a sustainable approach to generate electricity for a zero-carbon precinct, incorporating 4 main divisions: energy absorption through solar panels, energy storage using a flow battery, an electricity exploration lab, and a public rooftop garden. By adopting a flow battery as a rechargeable fuel cell and utilizing the tank of electrolytes, the precinct achieves longer durations and higher capacity energy storage, facilitating the integration of renewable energy into the electricity network. The power generation process commences with the absorption of energy through concentrated photovoltaic units, which is then stored into the vanadium redox flow batteries. These batteries, strategically positioned in the building's facade, is efficiently transformed and supplies electricity to residents, drawing upon the stored energy from the tanks of electrolytes and pipes. Additionally, the electricity lab function as a dynamic hub for researching and developing innovative methods to generate renewable energy. Furthermore, the public rooftop garden serves as a dual purpose, as it provides visitors with a serene and rejuvenating space to unwind, while simultaneously contributing to carbon reduction through the introduction of lush greenery. This holistic and sustainable approach to energy generation exemplifies the project's unwavering dedication to achieving zero carbon Precinct, setting a precedent for environmental conscious urban development. In Transition challenges the idea of adaptively reusing not just buildings but also cars. The proposal focuses on establishing processes today to enable an affordable, equitable, and sustainable transition for internal combustion engines vehicles to electric vehicles in Australia, rather than solely considering the future impacts of EVs on our cities. Through minor interventions at the meat market, the students have redesigned the space to incorporate battery storage and facilitate the temporary conversion of ICEs to EVs over the next decade. By prioritising the conversion of existing vehicles instead of relying solely on new electric vehicles, it can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 60% and prevent premature waste generation. Additionally, the design proposes cultural infrastructure and public spaces for the meat market to enhance its operation as a cultural and performance hub during nighttime. While envisioning and designing the future impacts of EVs is essential, it is equally important to ensure accessibility for all during the transition. Given the climate emergency, we must foster ambition and immobilize as many people as possible in the battle against climate change. To achieve this, solutions that are both simple to understand and inexpensive are crucial elements to consider. The power station is an innovative architectural project that reimagines the conventional service station typology and transforms it into a renewable power hub within Melbourne's inner city. Preserving the elements that society appreciates in service stations, this facility thrives in our renewable future, offering a unique experience for both locals and outsiders. It serves as a convention stop where individuals can refill their vehicle and nourish their bodies. With its northerly aspect, the power station maximizes its potential through 4 levels of urban farming. Additionally, it features a solar-charged multi-level car refueling station as its core. This cutting-edge facility not only allows numerous people to park their cars and purchase fresh produce, but also provides educational opportunities about urban farming. Moreover, the community garden on the ground floor plaza creates a space for social interaction and community engagement. By utilising these innovative approaches and more, the power station goes beyond the traditional petrol station archetype. It becomes a vibrant community hub that contributes to the well-being and sustainability of an area. This architectural project sets a new benchmark for reinventing common infrastructure and showcases the potential of architecture and positively impact communities in unprecedented ways. The Park Work Play project aims to transform the conventional car park into a dynamic, eco-friendly car park offices complex that relies on renewable energy generated from organic waste. The aim is to revitalise the old car park typology, which once was a private, cold, environmental, unfriendly, into a vibrant and sustainable space. By utilising the car parking area, the space can be rented or hired as temporary offices, venues for small events, cinemas, or exhibitions when not in use for parking. Each parking lot can be separated by curtains, offering users a sense of privacy within shared public space. This transformation turns the car park into a lively environment where office workers can enjoy working under the sun, breathing fresh air. The biogas tanks are incorporated to collect organic food waste from the surrounding community, which is then converted into energy to power the offices and provide heating to the complex, even the nearby Jane Bell Hospital. Moreover, the columns within the complex are designed to accommodate future expansion as the need for additional spaces arises with the population growth. This allows continual growth and integration of the new elements in the car park and office complex. Through these innovative approaches, the Park Work Play project reinvents the traditional car park typology, creating an open and inclusive gathering space for local community. By involving waste management initiatives and hosting events, this project gives back to the surroundings while fostering a community engagement.
Architecture stubbornly resists change, unlike cities, making it simultaneously robust and fragile. Despite architects presenting themselves as versatile public intellectuals, the profession remains focused on its outdated agency. Architecture is not a victim, but an active protagonist. It used to play a significant role in shaping the built environment through its connections to materials, energy, and climate, but we have lost sight of this understanding. The construction practice is trapped in procurement models and financial anxieties, hindering sustainability and resilience. To unlock new possibilities, we must rediscover this neglected relationship and reality, and delve into the mysteries of architecture, materials, energy, and consumption to forge responsible configurations with the environment. We face a circular predicament where solutions cannot be solely achieved through rational thought. Collective action is essential. To design for abundance, we must first understand design for depletion. How can we reimagine the concepts of firmness, commodity, and delight within the interaction of buildings and natural systems? How can we extrapolate for future practices involving material and structures? Is the traditional approach of building as a problem-solving endeavor now entirely obsolete? And if so, how do we minimize construction? What if these ideas are not radical, but rather fundamental and realistically applicable? Rather than pursuing revolution, our focus should be on the continuity and relationships between what we already understand distinctly. Carbon, as an energy source and store, has influenced societal behaviors and cultural objects. However, the cultural dynamics within complex systems are often overlooked when comprehending interdependent systems. How does architecture as a bridging practice empower local communities and culture? The transition away from carbon will be a gradual process involving scalable architectures and interventionist practices. The built environment becomes a flexible foundation for a modern energy ecosystem, where energy is extracted and utilized independently of a grid, and food is produced at scale within urban blocks. At what stage does this transformation occur? What if we abandon consistency and the familiar? We would encounter a paradigm that requires a rearticulation and recalibration of spatial practices. Space, type, form become responsive and mutually influential. Space gains agency. The problem encompasses political, social, economic, technological, environmental, psychological, and cultural aspects. As Keller Easterling argues, it's not even the content of the problems, but rather their interplay that is most important. Perhaps this pushes architecture to genuinely embrace the limits of its accuracy, where inevitability becomes the only certainty. The stability of architectural reality within the energy paradigm faces challenges beyond market forces and structural considerations. It challenges the creative process as well. Maintaining the status quo would mean operating from a position of power, perceiving risk and reward in a shamanic manner, and seeking mutual benefit. However, neither of these may be genuine or relevant, despite the tempting allure of wholehearted commitment. Previous practices cannot dictate future behavior or favorability of success.